The meeting with the premier was, I guess you can look at it one of two ways. One, it was good in the sense that we, meaning the number of chiefs that were there from the AFNQL, had an opportunity to question and demand answers from the premier, as well as the Minister of Native Affairs, Jeff Kelly. Demand questions be answered, and to be able to put ourselves in a position where we say very distinctly what we feel this relationship is, what they're calling nation to nation, and it was a tough meeting. I mean, we got very we got very tough on the premier. We got very pushed him, and basically said, this is the way we view things, and you guys have been slacking off. I went back in time to when the first time on record there was ever a Native Affairs division, if you want to call it that, organized in Canada by any province. None of the provinces at the time. This is back in the René Lévesque days when the PQ government was in power. They put in place a structure called it was called SAGMI, and it was headed up by a director general whose name was Eric Gordeau, and had a direct link to the premier's office, René Lévesque, and that we had a lot of problems, mind you, and it wasn't all a wonderful situation. Things happened, and there were problems because they were just learning a government that didn't really understand who or what they were dealing with. But at least they made that effort, And the premier at the time said, SAGMI will report directly to my office. I will have a dual responsibility. One, as a premier of the province of Quebec. The other one, as minister of this new ministry, this new division. And from there, everything went downhill. When the Liberals came in, they began to really diminish the process and all of that, and there was really no more direct link to the premier's office. Although, in this instance, when we met last week with Premier Couillard, he says, "Oh yes," he said, "I'm still on top of things." He says, "My colleague, Minister Kelly, has a direct link to me," but we haven't seen evidence of that. But be that as it may, we just want to point it out that the relationship is really deteriorated, and it's not what it should be. And this whole concept of nation to nation, they have no idea what it is. So they agreed that there are issues that need to be dealt with sort of at an administrative level, that a group would break off of our people who work in the operations, administrations, not Kahnawake, but right across the board at the AFNQL. They would deal with their top executives and what have you, and deal with the day-to-day issues. On the other hand, at a higher level, at a political level, there would be accessibility to the premier's office, to other ministries that have some kind of effect, some kind of relationship. Would be a structure directly with the chiefs, as it was supposed to be in the past, rebuilding that relationship again. Because otherwise, we run into the same thing again. We have a meeting, we shake hands, we have a photo opportunity, we all line up and smile, we walk out of there, and then nothing happens. So we said, we're not going to stand for that. I said there's issues here where right across Quebec, there's all kinds of companies, foreign companies, local companies, Canadian companies, American companies that are coming in and they're establishing themselves, setting up mining operations, forestry operations, all that kind of stuff is it, and they're not including or involving the indigenous people of that particular territory. They're just doing what they darn well please, And I said, there's no consultation, nothing. This is you call that nation to nation? There's no benefit to them, or there's very little. They might hire a few people, sweep the floor or something. I said, but that's it. And I said, I could talk very specifically about Kahnawake, but, that's not what we're here for. we're here to talk about, on the higher plane, the political relationship, and where's that going to go? You guys don't even recognize the United Nations Declaration on Indigenous people. You've said nothing about that. There are court cases such as Chilcotin, which goes to the heart of Aboriginal title to the land. You don't want to talk about that, You stay away from that all the time. All you keep talking about and dealing with is minor issues, and more or less you're running the show in Quebec. So I says it's got to stop, So they kind of hemmed and hawed about it, but they understood, and so we'll see where it goes from here. I still don't have my hopes up on this. I still think we're going to continue to have problems because Quebec is such a different place than across the country. They haven't gotten it for 400 years. I don't believe they're going to get it now, So we have to use different methods, different tactics in order to get our message across. There's an understanding now. I mean, we had a pre-meeting, and we've had meetings like this before where our regional chief, Ghislain Picard, would organize with these meetings, and they'd bring everybody that wanted to come to the meeting. We'd sit down, we'd have a prep session, and it's not to criticize my fellow chiefs in Quebec, but we say, we want to keep it at a high plane. We want to keep it at a level where it's political, and let's not get into a lot of the minor issues, because it just takes away from the major issues. Because you'll have the premier, you'll have the Minister of Native Affairs, Jeff Kelly there, and they love that kind of thing, You give them a small, oh yeah, take notes, we'll take care of that, and here's this, we can do this, we can do that, put more money here, more money there, or we have more money here, and it takes away from and you're sitting there, you're there to talk about the high level provincial indigenous relationship, and yet we're talking about issues that just bring it down to another level. So in this circumstance, there was only 6 of us, and we agreed that principally the issue was going to be about the relationship, nation to nation, and we would use examples, purely examples about circumstance, but otherwise we would keep it at a higher plane. So I was satisfied with that, but I was still upset because of the kind of the way they came at us at first, and then when they started backing off, then we went after them, took full advantage of the circumstances. What I said to them basically was, when I used the example of how this structure, this organization came into being, SAA, or formerly SAGMI, and where it is now, I said again, and I used the example, I said, this is a liberal government, I said, and it seems like liberal government, we can never do business with you guys. You're always like countering everything that we do and trying to stop us and stymie us and doing. I said, look at 1990. Well, which government was in power? I said, it was the liberal government, Barassa, I said, and while there's negotiations going on over land, the mayor of Oka does backdoors everybody, goes and calls in, goes to court, gets an injunction, orders the police in, and that disrupts everything. It was the liberal government, So there's a pattern there of mistrust with you guys, and I said that's got to clear up.